I want to get your weigh in here with regards to this possible report about the ruling on Friday. He made a very good point, saying that at the end of the day, this is still a UN organization. Is Israel, for lack of a better way of phrasing it, likely to get a fair shake?
The UN aspect helps Israel because they have to take into account the definition of genocide under the UN's own Genocide Convention. Under that definition of genocide, there clearly was no genocide here. That is clear. And therefore, even though the ICJ is quite political, they can't just ignore the facts. And therefore, the issue becomes something else. They could easily issue a temporary injunction based on the idea that something terrible is going on and it's not been proven one way or the other. And this is a court that has no enforcement powers. It goes over to the UN Security Council, where the question is, will the U.S. veto whatever the Council wants to do as a result of that injunction? And that, therefore, gives the U.S. leverage to pressure Israel to take certain action. For example, as said before, to engage with its proposal for an end to the war, or to up its humanitarian aid that it allows into Gaza, and other things. And we should take into account something else on the political realm. Whereas there is no genocide by the legal definition as set out by the UN's own Genocide Convention, it's an entirely different matter when it comes to the popular understanding of the word in the street and in the world, which is the grisly killing of a whole bunch of people from one nation. And under that, not legal, but political definition of genocide, the picture looks quite different for Israel. And certainly the outcome, therefore, of whatever the court decides on Friday could create pressure.
Absolutely, and as you mentioned, obviously the distinction between those two definitions is obviously causing a major headache for Israel, given that many people around the world are watching very biased reports about purely the killing that is ongoing in the Gaza Strip, not
Absolutely.
The fact that it actually started from October 7th. So what can Israel do more from a PR perspective in terms of trying to counter that as of this moment?
Oh, that's a big question. But I would start with a beginning and ending every day with explaining Israel's conditions for an end to the war that is immediate. And the world would agree with those conditions. A demilitarization of Gaza, a restoration of the PA under rejuvenated and improved setup in Gaza, and a return of the hostages.
So do you believe that the Rear Admiral Daniel Hagari, the IDF spokesperson, who does give daily briefings, is perhaps not matching up to that specific part of the briefing?
The army is subordinate to the government, and the government has refused to set out a day after that looks plausible to the world, and that could be sellable from a public relations point of view, for the simple reason that Netanyahu does not want to upset the far right in his government on which he depends. That is the reality, and I called it before reckless and dangerous. I stand by those definitions.